Was a girl running in a group. She had a high-speed motor in a 40 Ford coupe. She had a racing cam and a supercharged. Look at Buddy, hot rod and large. She's a hot rod. She's a hot rod.
We have been following this all along, and ex-UAW President Gary Jones sentenced to 28 months in jail, a little over 2 years. Ex-UAW President Gary Jones was sentenced Thursday to 28 months in federal prison for stealing millions from auto workers to live a lavish lifestyle of golf, cigars, and fine liquor. Boy, that's some expensive cigars, Eric. I mean, I smoke cigars. I couldn't smoke millions of dollars worth of cigars if I had to. Jones was sentenced in person before U.S. District Judge Paul Bonneman just over a year after he pleaded guilty. His hearing was delayed multiple times by the coronavirus pandemic. Yes, it was. They all were. And he's not alone. Now we have another problem. In Germany, the ex-VW CEO, Winterkorn, he's probably the father of Stinkygate. He's charged with giving false testimony to a German parliament. Now, I don't know how you lie to the Senate here on a Senate committee meeting or something, or a House committee meeting. You lie to them and you go right to federal prison. So I don't know what's going to happen here. Prosecutors have brought charges against former Volkswagen CEO Martin Winterkorn for giving false testimony to the German parliament when he said he was unaware of the automaker's diesel scandal before it broke. Come on. How stupid could this guy get? In his testimony, the accused falsely claimed to have been informed of the defeat devices only in September of 2015. Berlin prosecutors said in a statement on Wednesday. Winterkorn told German lawmakers on January 2017 that he did not know about the company's systematic emissions cheating earlier than VW has officially admitted. But what happened to the 2015 thing? Yeah. Okay, well, Martin, go to jail. Go to jail. Have a ball. Speaking of which, Stinkygate is always in. It just keeps on giving. This story. Volkswagen Group has said it has reached agreement with former CEO Martin Winterkorn and 3 other former top executives over compensation for their involvement in the automaker's diesel emissions scandal. In other words, the big bosses knew about this, but the Volkswagen Group is now suing these guys. The settlement means VW receives 288 million euros, that's 351 million buckaroos, in compensation related to the scandal that has cost the company more than 32 billion euros in fines, refits, and legal costs. My God. Well, they're getting a little bit back anyway, Eric. That's not a whole lot, though. Geez, 32 billion they spent, and they're not even going to get 1 billion. Winterkorn has agreed to pay 11.2 million euros of compensation. Robert Stadler, who we reported on a couple weeks ago, former CEO of VW's Audi division, agreed to pay 4.1 million euros. Wolfgang Hatz, we talked about him too, VW's former top engineer, will pay 1.5 million euros. And Audi's former development head Stefan Knirsch will pay 1 million euros. The automaker said it will also receive 270 million euros from its directors and officers' liability insurance policies. These guys all had insurance policies on, what do you want to call it, malpractice? I mean, I guess it's malpractice, Eric. I don't know what you call it. Unbelievable, the Stinkygate just keeps on giving. I can remember when there was thousands of Volkswagens stored all over the Midwest. There was down here at Balmoral Racetrack. They were at the Gary Airport. They were everywhere. And little by little, they're going away. Why? And this was brought to my attention by Hank the Crank over in Harvey. Old Hank said, why don't they take these cars and give them to the different high schools and colleges, trade schools around the country. Let them rip them apart, put them back together, do what they do with cars. Let them learn different things. Also learn how to not run a defeat device, how not to program a defeat device. Try and say that real fast sometime, Eric. Defeat device. It's not easy.
5 times? How many times?
1 time is enough.
Defeat the fight. Defeat device.
You didn't even get it one out. I told you it's not easy. I've been practicing. Oh well. So Volkswagen has got their hands full. Now the executives have their hands full and they're having to pay back. And I think that's only fair. I mean, what the heck? All right. This is a sad story. I hate this story, but I got to tell you. Toyota is toughening the anti-harassment stance. This is the headline for Japan workers after a suicide. Oh yeah. In 2017, a 28-year-old Toyota employee committed suicide after being harassed by his boss. I got a problem with this one. More than 3 years after the work-related suicide of one of its employees, because it's been 3 years since this kid did this, Toyota Motor Corp says it has strengthened its harassment prevention measures and reached a settlement with the deceased worker's family. I got to tell you, first of all, how do you quit your job? If you don't like your boss, if he's harassing you and you can't take it anymore, you quit. Go to work for somebody else. I mean, give me a break. Why? Obviously, this 28-year-old was prone to suicide anyway, because there's a lot of jobs out there. There's no reason to end your life over a job where you got a bad boss. Or maybe you're a bad employee, he's a good boss and he's harassing you. Maybe he wants to get rid of you, but I don't think he wanted to get rid of you that way. He wanted you to quit. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he just is a jerk. There's a possibility there too. I don't condemn the bosses right away until I get a look at the whole story. Now, in a story which I will condemn the boss, and it's coming right now. And again, the information you hear and the opinions you hear here are strictly Big George the Carguy. Has nothing to do with Gerard Media or any of the 5 radio signals. These people are good people. They mostly would like to censor me, but I'm not. Hey, I'm not that bad. Come on. Tesla, you know where I'm going. Tesla told NHTSA in a defect notice that the issue on their seatbelts resulted from workers' failures to always torque the seatbelts into place correctly or to properly verify specifications were met after installing these seatbelts. That's one recall, and he blames the workers. The second recall applies up to 2,100 of these Teslas 2019 to 2021 Model Y crossovers manufactured between November 26th, 2019 and March 30th of 2021. During assembly, if the operator made several unsuccessful attempts to torque the second row left or right side seatbelt retractor fastener to the correct specifications, he must have unknowingly cross-threaded the fastener. So it's not Elon's fault. It's not his assembly procedures. It's all the worker's fault. He must have cross-threaded the fastener. You know what, Elon? In this case, I blame the boss. First of all, how do you have an employee that does that? Well, I guess there are employees that do that. There are employees that take the easy way out. All right? But I can't see it happening. But if you want to, and then besides that, they had to recall all those vehicles between that time and that time. That's a lot of vehicles to cross-thread the bolts on. I mean, I'm sure he didn't cross-thread them all, but they're counting on it, the fact that it's somebody's fault. It's not anything to do with Tesla. Don't even think it's Tesla's fault. It's people. It's those rotten employees. Well, guess what? They're not rotten employees, and I think that's wrong, and I think he needs to learn to keep his mouth shut. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety has issued their list of the safest used cars, and I can give you I'll give you the top three out of each category. You can go down the IIHS website and get all of them because there's several. There's like 10 top safe cars in most of the categories. Anyway, small cars. Of the small cars, Mazda Model 3 sedan or hatchback 2014 or newer. Number one in safe cars. Number two, Toyota Prius 2014 or newer. Built after November of 2013. Hyundai Elantra GT 2018 or newer. Wow, 2018 or newer. It's almost like buying a new car. But these are the cars that are coming off a lease now. If in fact, we'll talk about that because they're not coming off a lease like they should. Mid-size cars, top three. Subaru Outback 2013 or newer. Subaru Legacy 2013 or newer. Can you tell this is all in small print? Mazda 6 2014 or newer. Unreal. And then I'll give you the fourth one in that category, the mid-size cars, because that's the first time we got an American. Lincoln MKZ 2013, 2016, and 2018 or newer. Wow. There's a couple years there they're not too happy about. Large cars. Now when did he call this a large car? Ford Taurus 2014. 1 year. Hyundai Genesis 2016. 1 year. Of the safest cars, used cars now. These are used. Small crossover SUVs. This is interesting. Nissan CX-5 2014 or newer, but it got to be built after October 2013. Nissan Rogue 2014 and 2016 to 18. And the Subaru Forester 2016 or newer. Now the fourth one in that category is I would have thought would have been first. The Honda CR-V 2015 or newer. The Honda CR-V is a great car. Mid-size crossover SUVs. Choose. Chevrolet Equinox. Hey, American car got in there. 2017, 2019. Nissan Murano 2015 or newer. GMC Terrain, that's 2014, 2019. And that's now minivans. All right? Minivans. Toyota Sienna 2015 to 18. Good used car. Honda Odyssey. Real popular used car. 2016 only, though. There's 1 year. And Kia Sedona 2017. You got to remember, this is in it, the IIHS claiming the safest cars to buy. So if you're buying Junior a car for college, or if you're buying a grocery getter for mine, the minivans are nice. That Honda Odyssey's are nice, but you got to buy a 2016. I don't know why the other ones aren't as safe. You got me. I don't get it. But it is what it is. Let's talk electric vehicles, and it gets better. It just gets better and just keeps on giving. EVgo. That's capital E, capital V, small g, small o. EVgo launches the option to reserve charging spots. We just talked about this last week, Chuck Pullen and I, about what are you going to do? Is there going to be fights at the charging stations over who got there first and they blah blah blah. Well, here's the deal. As EV adoption rates rise, one issue owners are running into is arriving at public charging station and seeing all the spots taken by other electric vehicles. This is happening in areas where electric vehicles are common, such as the Bay Area in California, as well as places where charging stations just happen to be rare, but where electric vehicles see a lot of interstate travel. So they're traveling through there. They don't have to have a lot of electric vehicles in the neighborhood. What's the solution to waiting half an hour while another EV gets its juice? Electric vehicle, EVgo, electric vehicle go. One of the leading station networks in the U.S. is rolling out a reservation option for station spots on a trial basis. They're just giving this a whirl. The company is expanding the option to a number of cities after a smaller pilot launch earlier in 2021, and is now offering this option at a number of the in-demand stations in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, Sacramento, Redmond, and Santa Barbara. All the places one would imagine you would have plenty of competition for the charging spots, and you would. EVgo users in these areas can book a spot via their smartphone app at 17 current locations and can schedule a time at an available charger either right away or as far as 2 weeks in advance. Drivers can also cancel a reservation within the first 5 minutes for free if the reservation is immediate, or 24 hours prior to a reservation at a future date. In other words, if you've got an immediate one, you got to cancel within 5 minutes. Also, other drivers can view whether station spots are reserved via their own app. So this is kind of cool. It's actually the way it's going to keep keep unrest down. We're going to be so we don't have any riots at the charging stations, because I can see a lot of guys are traveling across country. They got to get in and get charged and get out. They got to go, and they want to go, and they're wow. And that, you know what? Don't kid yourself. In your lifetime, you're going to own one of these. I mean, I'm serious. A U.S. Senate panel wants to raise EV tax credit as high as $12.5. Yes, sir. It's not a law yet, not by a long shot. But things are happening in Congress that could add up to $5,000 to the current $7,500 federal tax credit for electric vehicles. My God, they'd owe me $7,500 or $7,499 tax credits because I don't make any money. The bill would add $2,500 to the credit for electric vehicles made in the U.S. and another $2,500 if it is made by union workers. Hello. I'm liking this. You know who that leaves out, don't you? The current 200,000 vehicle limit per automaker would also go away. They have a limit, helping GM and Tesla the most in favor of an overall phase out once more than half the vehicles sold in the U.S. are electric. And they will be. Half the vehicles sold in this country will be electric. The current federal tax credit for someone buying an electric vehicle has a maximum value of $7,500. A new piece of legislation called the Clean Energy for America that passed the U.S. Senate Finance Committee this week would raise that to $12.5, but it's not a straightforward increase. Not yet. I like the idea of you get more if it was built by union workers and if it was built here. Of course, the union workers, that kind of lets Tesla out because he doesn't have a union shop.